Hey everyone, my name is Zan. With PSO2 New Genesis shaking up the meta and all the information we've had from the last 8 years being thrown out the window, I want to get some basic information out on Techter in case people are looking for a starting point. I do want to preface everything here with a few caveats. First is that this is only from the first 36 hours of playtime. This can and will most likely change as people dig in further into the frame data and whatnot. This also comes from my personal opinion and experience between the closed beta and the first 2 days of gameplay. If there is data that comes out that changes things, please let me know in the comments below. Second is that something the existing PSO2 players will know well. Be careful with your skill trees. Sega does give us passes from time to time to reset our skill trees, but it's usually only after major updates. For instance, on Global, we got reset passes every time a new episode came out. The only way to fix trees beyond the first pass we get from the quest is to buy another skill tree and wait for the next reset pass wave. With those warnings out of the way, let's get into the good stuff. As you may know, Techter is a class that offers a wide array of party support skills while providing a unique melee style. Much like in PSO2, Techers have Elemental Charge, which allows you to add an element to your weapon. Unlike in PSO2 though, Techers have the sole source of Shift and D-Band, now combined into one skill. The skill can only be used by those who take Techter as a main class, not Techter subs. Techter continues to have Wands and Talus as their weapon options. Wands continue to be the bonk sticks that they have been, with Swift Smash letting you charge in like Heavy Hammer in PSO2, and Wave Crash, which turns your wand into a sledgehammer. The wand's weapon action allows you to parry an attack with the right timing. Talus, on the other hand, got a complete rework. These work almost like a stance, where Convergence Shot allows you to focus your techniques into a single shot, and Spread Shot acts like an AoE. The Talus weapon action acts like a turret, staying where it's placed, but shooting in whichever direction you go. Skill trees are still in flux, and until the numbers have been crunched, we don't know for sure what the best route is going to be for the people who are more interested in those nitty-gritty details. But if you're looking for something to get you by, something like this should work. Other than the obvious need for Shift to D-Band, the tree is pretty flexible. There are a few things I would not recommend though. Bardoblot and Zondiclad to me feel like traps. For a more traditional tech or playstyle, there's never really a need to cast uncharged techs, and Talus doesn't let you charge techs when using shots. I also wouldn't waste the point on reverse bounty since you can easily recast Shift to D-Band after rezzing the player. And there are other things to use that point on. The final thing I wouldn't recommend is Wand Element Revoke, as there's never really a time that you wouldn't want an element on your wand, at least currently. As shown on this tree, you have 5 points to adjust as needed. With those 5 points, you can choose between Shift Effect Amplifier, Slow Landing Charge, Floating Pillbox, Multi-Rock if you're running Talus, and putting the remaining points in either Weak Element Amplifier or Awake Ale. One thing to note is the down factor increase from Shift to Amp may be found to be beneficial depending on how effective down status becomes once the numbers are crunched. Consider this one to be on the borderline between required and optional for now. Subclasses are in an odd state right now as well. Again, numbers are still being crunched, so this is still up in the air. What I can tell you is that Ranger is the only class I can say for sure that won't be a good Techter subclass, as it adds nothing to it. Blight rounds are main class only, and the other thing you could use are corner case items at best. Also, as of this recording, talents that are restricted to weapons are not affected by multi-weapons. As you can see here, I tested this with a Force sub and a Wand Rod multi-weapon, and it didn't work, but the Talus on its own did. As we're focusing primarily on Techter and its weapons, this limits us to a couple of skills in each tree. This does not mean that they are not viable if you're going a pseudo-class main where you take Techter for Shift to D-Band but plan on using the other class's weapons. Hunter allows for some survivability, much like it did in PSO2. We do lose out on Iron Will, but we can do a decent Etoile impersonation by taking Hunter's Physique and Flashguard. Do note that Hunter's Physique is an active skill and does have cooldown, so if you're one that tends to forget about their cooldowns, this might not be the best option. Fighter is more of a bossing subclass, as Defeat Advantage and Defeat PP Recovery are both based on down enemies. They don't add much though, as you can get a 5% damage increase and 25% higher photon power recovery at 10 stacks each. Personally, I'd pass on this because of the next sub. Gunner was more commonly thought to be the best subclass when the talent trees first came out, only based on the photon recovery options. Attack PP Recovery gives an extra 20% PP recovery rate, and Overwhelm gives an extra 20% as long as you're not attacking bosses. This would be good when farming Mount Magnus or Vanford, and might be better than Fighter in Next Pharaoh's Urgent Quest. Force. Probably the biggest glow-up of NGS. Techter Force used to be a no-no back in base PSO2 due to complete lack of synergy, but it may be the best subclass for Techter in NGS. PP Conversion is the only class skill that's not main class only, and there's a decent chunk of skills you can take here. This also allows you to open up some of your Techter skill points as well, as you can take Tricky Capacitor, Talus Bloom Revoke, and Floating Pillbox Multi-Rock here instead of the Techter tree. Due to these factors, I'd put my money on Techter Force being the default combination. If that's the case, I'd probably go with a tree like this, where I'd skip Vardy and Zondi, D-Band Bad Condition, Reverse Bounty, One Element Revoke, and the Talus skills, but take everything else and maybe a 3-5 mix between Weak Element Amp and Awake Gale. If you want to take Slow Landing Charge, you could pull a point from either of those, but I'd lean more towards Weak Amp if it was up to me. As of now, weapons and units are still being figured out. I'm currently using a set of Claws God units and a Fluxio wand that I fixed as a general use item in case we do get new PSO2 content down the line. And it's been doing a good enough job at level 16. As more information comes out on what gear we have, what abilities to look for in weapons, and what 4-star units look like, I'd stick with the recommendation of only upgrade if you need it. Save your resources until you need it and wait to see if there's a best set of gear, or if it's based on personal preference where only the min-maxers need to worry about that extra 5 points of PP versus 10 HP. With that, that's probably more than enough information to get you started on your push to level 20. If you like what you saw, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and if you want more, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you think I'm completely off the mark on something, or there's new info that comes out from the number crunchers, feel free to put it in the comments below. I'm a bouncer main at heart, but I might go further into the Techter nitty-gritty more as information comes out. I do post new Genesis content here on YouTube and stream new Genesis on Twitch at twitch.tv/ZanTM every Friday night, and would be more than happy to answer any questions you might have on there. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.